There has been a lot going on, and that is an understatement. I cannot keep track of this administration's executive orders, things that are happening literally every second of every day. So in this video, we're going to look at a video from Fox News. They actually had some voters who wanted to talk about what's going on, because you hear all of the criticism coming from the Democratic Party. They're saying that this, Elon Musk, what he's doing is very unlawful. He's an unelected official, so they're not comfortable with that. There are people, he's not an elected official. They're not comfortable with him poking around into government's business. And that's very fair. It's a very fair criticism. I will say that no matter what side you're on, however the case may be. Let's listen to some of the voters and what they have to say.
Now it's time to hear from the voters. It's voters' voices. And with me in the front row, Mary Josephine, an independent, Jamil, Democrat. And in the back row, Teresa, Republican, Stephanie, Democrat, and I understand recently switched to independent, which is not a political party, but certainly a frame of mind. We'll get into it. And Robin, a Republican. For all of you, I know you voted for Trump. Some of you were with me on election night, and welcome back. It's great to see you guys. All right, Jamil, I'm coming to you first. You are a college at the University of Chicago. You are a Democrat. You now call yourself a conservative Democrat. First of all, how is the president doing on his number one promise with getting out the worst of the worst illegal immigrants?
He's been doing a great job so far. I wake up every day and I read the headlines and I get impressed by his creativity, but I also think he can go further, such as with his bid to end birthright citizenship. He could start printing papers for the undocumented children here that are currently being born, and then force the foreign governments of the country of origin to accept those citizenship papers diplomatically. And I also think, I go to Chicago and I see the immigration crisis at the forefront in front of my school on the corners. I don't think we should wait until unpopular mayors like Brandon Johnson lose their elections. I honestly think if mayors like him obstruct Tom Homan or President Trump, they should be arrested. They should be indicted, put on trial, because they weren't afraid to put him on trial when he was just running for office. So I would say, let the voters in the community talk about, is using taxpayer dollars against common sense policies, is it illegal? And I think you would see that Mayor Brandon Johnson, so many other mayors would be criminally charged.
What are you studying?
Let me just pause for a second here. This young man had said an awful mouthful, okay? And yeah, he just said an awful mouthful. Number one, there has been unprecedented pushback from every agency that you can think of, every Democratic mayor or Democratic governor that you can possibly conceive over these ICE raids. And I understand that some of them have sanctuary cities, so they're in between a rock and a hard place. Some people are true asylum seekers and others are not. So there's a fine line between the two. And this young man is pointing out a number of different things. Birthright citizenship, that's also has been on the table, very controversial. The courts kind of like put a pause on it, stop that. The ICE raids, that's a huge thing. And he's saying that president is not doing enough. I think what president is doing is it's alarming to a lot of people. I think for those who voted for him, they're very comfortable with the pace at which he's going. They expected it. But for some others who did not vote for him, it's very, very alarming and downright, we would say some people are, they've been protesting, as we saw, the Democratic Party. They protested yesterday regarding the government shutdown by DOGE of funds. So this young man is very, very intelligent, and I love what he had to say. Let's see what the other panelists have to say in regards to that.
I mean, I came up with several careers right there. You could be a political analyst, you could be an attorney. Thank you for all of that. And it sounds like you've made a migration now, at least in your mind and politically. We'll have to see how you vote in the future, but that's so interesting. We have another Democrat among us. And
yeah, I didn't really address the part that he actually said that he is switched parties for whatever reason. Imagine that would tend to happen when your ideologies change. So I'm not really going to comment too much about it.
And that is Stephanie. And I understand now you're leaning more independent, maybe not exactly one party or the other. You just heard from Jamil. What would you like to add to that?
So I think the country is the most divided it's ever been in my lifetime. The Democratic Party doesn't represent my values as much anymore. I think it's shifted so much from kind of the Clinton era party that I grew up on. And I think now it's kind of representing these really elitist, maybe even socialist ideals. I'm a mother of 4 kids. I have real concerns. I have, really immediate issues that I want to make sure are addressed. And I think as an independent, I can use my own brain. I can have an open mind and a critical ear and look at candidates for who they are and what they represent, and if that mirrors my values. As far as adding on to Trump's border policies, immigration, birthright citizenship, I think the Constitution was meant to be reevaluated and debated. And this incredible country that we live in is built on discourse and debate and discussion.
One thing I wanted to say is that he's actually enforcing the laws, as the Constitution was written. And I think that people are misconstruing modern day popularism or culture changes that has happened within the last decade for the pre-existing laws. Like, if you're an illegal, you're breaking the law. But I think that people have become so entrenched into political rhetoric that they're unable to separate the fact from fiction, or their feelings from reality. And I love what this mom is saying. She's like, I'm a mother and I wanted to vote for someone who represent my values. And I definitely have young children that I want to protect, and as well as a safety issue when it comes to crime, maybe in her neighborhood, etc., etc. So there are some in between discussions that are, or I should say, nonverbal discussions that are happening that she may not want to present publicly.
And smart people coming together to solve big problems in a constructive way so that we can have this incredible liberal democracy that we live in, which is a give and a take. You have to balance your independent identity with serving the good of a greater society as well, and we've lost that. We have
lost that, because I've noticed in the past, I would say in the past 10 to 12 years, all of a sudden we have this thing called cancel culture. We used to have a public forum where we're able to discuss our ideas, even if we don't agree with somebody else. Like, we used to be able to just have a discussion with one another and maybe have a middle ground. There are some platforms such as YouTube, which is really excellent for doing that. But the problem is that since Trump got first elected in 2016, there's been this massive push for censorship in such a way that it just muted people's voices. And I think this is what's happening now with the majority of Americans who voted him back into office. Essentially, they're saying, look, we're tired of not being heard for so long, and this is the reason why this is happening now, because things are getting so out of hand. We don't even identify with the Democratic Party of yesterday, and our communities are suffering as a result.
This kind of entitled, I deserve everything attitude. And I think that's kind of ruling the roost right now.
Well, it's interesting. You were both you and Jamil, obviously, Jamil, you're originally from here in New York City, I believe. So, and you're now in Chicago. You guys are from sanctuary cities. So as former or current kind of moving Democrats, if you will, it doesn't entirely surprise, I would imagine, most people because of what you're living through right now.
I don't put my kids on the subway. I don't walk alone at night anymore in New York City. So it's not the city that we lived in. Yeah.
I knew it. I just had a feeling that she was really concerned about that crime feature. Now, yeah, I had a feeling that she was really concerned about that. Just seeing some of the stuff that was happening, it was just getting out of control. The woman being burned on the subway, that was just really terrible.
Actually, I don't have to imagine. We see it every day in the city. Homeland Security Department numbers now show that in Trump's first 2 weeks in office, today is day 16, agents have arrested nearly 9,000 people for immigration violations. And
to be honest, the last time I reported, it was 1,000 because it was the first day. Now it's up to 9,000 in a week. Wow. I want to bet that they will eventually deport about maybe close to 2 to 5 million people by the end of this year.
And there have been nearly 5,700 deportations or removals. Border czar Tom Homan had this warning for sanctuary cities.
Sanctuary cities are responsible for deaths of thousands of young children throughout my career. And we're going to sue them, we're going to hold them. And look, if it's got to go to the Supreme Court, that's what President Trump wanted to do. He will end sanctuary cities. Sanctuaries are sanctuaries for criminals, bottom line.
All right, Teresa, I want to go directly to you. I mean, one of the things that we've seen with Tom Homan, the border czar, is immediate. He got started before anything because he didn't need a Senate confirmation to hold the role that he has.
I think this is a very sensitive topic, and I am a little wishy-washy on it because I believe that America is home of the free, home of the brave. We're a melting pot. My great-grandparents came over from Italy, and that's important for who we are as a country. But that's why I voted President Trump, because he has been so adamant about his decisions, about what he believes. He stands by it. And that's why I voted for him, because for someone who maybe is uncertain about certain issues, you need a leader that is going to put his foot down and say, okay, I'm going to help you out. Let me make the decision and let me do it fast and the right way.
You know, you told my team, and I thought this was, we don't have to go into the whole story, but you and your husband were kind of talking last evening.
I didn't know if you were
getting ready for today. Oh, no. My team is
it's like a college party. And
that's
gotten out of hand. And the only way to bring it back is to kick everyone out. And you want, your food, your alcohol back. You want your clean place back. Wow. And that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. And you said, look, it may seem like, a light way to compare it, but what you're talking about is sovereignty in your own home.
Yep.
And we don't take that lightly. Maybe we have in recent years, but not now. Mary Josephine, I know that you say you're an independent. You voted. Had you ever voted Republican before now?
I was a Republican previously, yes. And what I felt, many years back that the Republican Party had left me. It didn't really have the values that I had. I speak for all Americans. I think that Americans generally are united in everything. And unfortunately, politicians have forced this upon us. I mean, shame on the politicians for many years, not handling the immigration policies and not handling what was happening to our country. I mean, Reagan, back in the day, gave amnesty to so many people, and we thought that the border would be secure. We thought we were going to handle this illegal immigration policy. We didn't. And then we had manuals given out to Mexico during the Bush administration on how to get here, and, for humanitarian reasons. And, we fast forward to the last administration and it's a free-for-all. I mean, our country is not safe. It's a national security issue. I left New York City to move to North Carolina, and I was telling Robin earlier that here I am thinking I'm leaving New York City because it would be safer elsewhere. And we have Venezuelan gangs doing home invasions 2 or 3 houses down from us. I mean, it's a scary situation. I feel for everybody that's here. I feel that if you came here, you wanted to work hard, you want to provide for your families, absolutely you should. But it's been so out of hand that everything's been given to everybody but Americans that I think you have this real anger with the American people. And what Trump did was he united all these different political parties. It's people who never thought they would vote, you know, as for a Republican president, did so because they want a safe country. They want New York City to be the way it used to be. They want it to be safe. They want it to be clean. They want to be able to go to a restaurant, have a good time, not worry about walking down the street. It's unfortunate that we're in this situation.
Yeah.
Well, that is.
She hit it on the nail. Absolutely. This is the avatar of the voter today. I think most people are so frustrated and angry that this has gotten so far out of hand and no checks and balances were happening. We're in this situation where, I had to say it, most people had to vote him back in because, you know, Kamala and the Democratic Party, they weren't focused on the issue at hand. They denied it for so long up until the election time. And then they started to say, okay, let's roll it back. Let's try to do something about the border. Now, also, look at the contrast that happened within the last 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, through executive action, President Trump and his administration were able to clean up a lot of the things that were happening in the Biden administration. So this visibly, it really does not look good for the Democratic Party. And it's rather unfortunate that we are in a time where we're so divided and that we need to take care of each other. Exactly what this woman just said. We need to have our families taken care of. We need to be safe. We you know, so these things are very important to everyone from every walk of life. But you cannot deny that the problem doesn't exist. And I think that was the criticism of the Democratic Party. Like, it is a problem and it does exist. It does affect crime. It does affect the neighborhoods that you live in. This is the reason why I'm covering this.
So critically important, the ground that you just laid, because we talked about Democrats shifting. We had not talked about Republicans feeling like they had maybe been left behind. And you mentioned Robin. She's in the back row to the right here. So I know you guys spent some time together in the green room, maybe even previously. When you hear her speaking, I want to know the texture of the conversation you had, because I don't think that we have anything in our notes other than Republican for you, and I knew you on election night.
Yeah, we were just discussing how this issue, I've said that I think the issue of immigration is a really unique issue because I don't think it's as much a political issue as people have certain feelings about it based on their own experiences in their life.
By the way, excuse me, I see everybody nodding with you.
Cool.
Go ahead, Robin.
I think, yeah, I don't know that it's a Democrat-Republican issue as much as what we've experienced as citizens in this country. So some people who are here on green cards, you know, they have a different view than people who are here that feel that they are getting their resources taken away from them. I also think that as a parent, it's a very different situation. You know, I have a 12-year-old son. Hi, Rafa. And I worry about him in the city. I've gotten emails, you know, from his school that were warning about incidents where, you know, there were gang members stealing phones as they were walking to school. So it's definitely something that I have feelings about based on my own experiences and as a parent. And I think that's what we were kind of discussing.
This is also my biggest issue as well. I love New York. Clearly, my channel is all about that. And one of the biggest hurdles that I have about discussing the city is the fact that there is so much crime. And although we have tourism and people do live here, I live here still, the issue that we all have that connects all of us is the fact that we want somewhere that's safe for ourselves and our families and the people that we love. We want to live, work, and go to school in a place where we feel safe. And the problem is we haven't felt safe, and we haven't felt safe for a very long time. Now, it's multifactorial. You can't blame it all on illegal citizens or illegal citizen. You can't blame it all on the illegals, right? That's not entirely true. The citizens here, homeless, other people of all walks of life commit crime. That is a given. But the problem, I think, escalates even more when your populace starts to get out of hand. You're turning hotels into makeshift shelters. That's also another issue. So what she's saying is right. Everybody has a lived experience, and it's very important that we don't knock it. You know, if somebody has a lived experience, which is it kind of unites all of us, you know. So shout out to her. And then also I wanted to note that I noticed that there aren't anybody from the left or from the Democratic opposition side. These are all Trump voters, so they're not necessarily representative of a good cohort. But I will say this. The average person who do not like Trump, do not like Trump or didn't vote for Trump, I don't think that they could sit for a dialogue such as this. And they're not doing very well. They're not doing well at all. You cannot even have a dialogue. Some of them, you can't even mention him by name. They're just emotionally distraught. And it's very sad. It's very sad to see that you can't have that conversation. Unfortunately, I'm thinking to myself, like, I really didn't want to lean into the politics on my channel, but it's a little hard to not do that because, you know, this is what affects all of us, unfortunately. But I hope that you do know, if you are watching, I do want to put a disclaimer. If you are watching my channel and you recognize that, oh, okay, well, I'm clearly a different type of, you know, black person, and I don't fall in line with the traditional Democratic voice, well, welcome to my world. I just do not think the same. I think very, very differently. And I do welcome your opinions. I know there are some people in my comment section who are very vocal about how they feel, and they probably think that I'm selling out or whatever. But this is how I feel. This is how I feel about what's going on in our world today. So I'm not apologizing. It is what it is. All right, back to the video.
Who's one of the most far-left mayors in the country. And in fact, Democrat leaders, including Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, along with local mayors like Brandon Johnson and Boston's Michelle Wu, have repeatedly expressed their defiance, their resistance to Trump's immigration crackdown. Watch this.
And I don't think their resistance and defiance has anything to do with the law itself. I think it has to do with Trump himself, because Trump is bombastic. He's a very erratic personality, in your face. So I think this is more of a retaliatory action because of him as a person, not necessarily the law.
We also have a law in the books in Illinois that says that our local law enforcement will stand up for those law-abiding, undocumented people in our state. We're doing the right thing, and we're not going to help federal officials just drag them away.
Our police officers will not be cooperating with federal law enforcement around federal immigration law.
Federal government can implement their laws, and we are not we're not forced to participate in their actions.
What this administration is attempting to do, he's attempting to get us to surrender our humanity. We're not going to do that in Chicago.
You know what is interesting with Democrats, and Jamil, I'd be curious to get your take on this. They're willing to break the law to show that they care. And Republicans and independents, every other person who may have voted for Trump on this issue doesn't see it that way. You don't have to break the law to help people. What's your take?
I think when you have a politician such as Brandon Johnson, their number one goal should be to be understood, and that's using their bully pulpit, that's advocating for the people that pay tax dollars to them. And you see in many instances, he uses race to scapegoat a lot of the ideas that he has. He tries to use emotional appeal such as our humanity. But I think when I'm 23 years old, I've been in college for about 4 years, and when I'm walking to Target near my college, I see immigrants, a young mother with 2 children laying out on the sidewalk. Me walking by them and us walking by them as like young people, that diminishes our humanity every single day. Or even so, my family that are trying to buy college tickets to come see me graduate in the spring, they want to buy hotel rooms. But the issue is some of the hotel rooms NARAS has shut down to house illegal immigrants. So it's always, whose humanity are you looking out for? Wow. And why not us, that we're paying so many tax dollars, sales revenues to Brandon Johnson to represent us. And every time we try to ask him a question, we get the runaround on some emotional appeal about other people who do not pay taxes to him.
Yeah, I mean,
this is what I said from the very beginning. The more that, and these officials are not realizing they're going to continue, and you've probably heard this already, they're going to continue losing with the American people because they're not paying attention to the voters. The voters have said time and time again, we do not feel safe in our own communities. We need you to clean it up. We need you to work with the federal government. This is an opportunity for you to brand yourself and essentially say, okay, I hear you voters, and I'm going to do the best that I can to work with this administration. I may not exactly like how they go about doing things, but I'm willing to work for the American people and make sure that they are getting all the things that they need, all the resources that are being paid. Their taxpayer dollars are being used to efficiently, right? That's not happening. That's the issue. That is the biggest issue here. It is not happening, and they keep avoiding the problem, and yet and they'll continue to lose.
And Robin, it comes back to what you said, those personal experiences that people are having. One of the things when you talk about, and how I hear you, Jamel, is,
and the thing is, like, they're saying like, oh, the federal government, they can enact their laws and then we'll do our laws. No. Federal government still is the law of the land. They're illegals. It's not like you are being inhumane to people, like, you know, whatever. Somebody is breaking the law, you must have consequences. And apparently they want to push their own agenda, and they're going to continue to lose.
That it's not just losing our humanity that people can kind of grade and say, yeah, we look terrible to the rest of the world, but that inner soul part of knowing that hundreds of thousands of children have gone missing in our country because the former administration's federal government agencies didn't bother to keep up with them. Like that feels personal to all of us. Robin, I want to get a quick thought from you, and then I'm going to show you some lawsuits that are folding out now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, one of the issues I struggle with all of this is that I'm Jewish, and you know, during the Holocaust, there were ships of Jewish children that came to our country in an attempt to escape death, you know, and they were turned away. And, you know,
died.
What's that?
And they all died.
And they all died. So it tugs on your heartstrings a little more when you talk about the children, you know, and And certainly there's the thought of, well, if the parents are coming here and, illegally, then.
But those ships were coming legally.
Those ships were coming legally.
And I'm also a grandchild of Holocaust survivors, and I'm a huge patriot, and I'm so thankful and I'm sorry that I just interrupted you, but America opened its doors after the Holocaust when my grandparents had nowhere to go home to and nobody else would let them in after they were survivors of a genocide. And I'm so grateful. And they came in legally and they worked really, really hard for their entire lives to make a life here. It was really important that we assimilated to Western values and learn about this country. And legal immigration to America is incredibly important and valuable. And for those who want to be here and love this country and want to contribute to society and receive from society, it's incredible. I mean, my kids have friends whose ancestors come from all over the world. That's an amazing thing. But there's law and order in this society, and we need to abide by it. And maybe the laws need to be revised so it's easier to get through the process or more expeditious. And that's the job of Congress and the Senate, and it's hard work, but our officials should be doing hard work.
Just listening to all of you, there are so many touch points for I get it now. There was almost no other choice but to go forward from where we are now. And Donald Trump saw that. He's president now. He sees and he hears you. Just a quick show of hands. In the first 16 days, how do you think he's doing? What grade? Actually, no show of hands. Give him a grade, Jamil.
I'm saying A.
I
Robin.
gave a 10.
A 10.
Yeah,
That's an A. Yes.
I would say A+.
A+.
Yeah, I mean, the bar was really low, so I'll also say an A.
A++.
A++. Well, that's an average that will get you anywhere above an A. God bless you all. Thank you for being so open with all that you're facing and as voters, why you did what you did and why you continue to believe that Trump can get it done. I appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Okay, so that's it for the video. Like I said, in this video, clearly these people are pro-Trumpers, so you won't get the opposite side, the Democrats, but obviously you can see that on CNN, MSNBC, and then you can see it on TikTok as well. Some of these people are really just going down the rabbit hole of just despair. Unfortunately, all they see is Orange Man bad, and they're not really looking at the issues at hand. That's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.